While, over the years, wrestling has had its fair share of colorful characters, but few have left a legacy as uniquely entertaining as the Iron Sheik. A former WWE champion and legitimate wrestling badass, Sheik became just as famous, if not more so, for his unfiltered rants, brutally honest shoot interviews, and an endless stream of expletive-laden insults aimed at fellow wrestlers. Whether he was tearing into his greatest rivals, expressing his disdain for Hulk Hogan, or ranting about pop culture on Twitter, Sheik's verbal outbursts became the stuff of wrestling folklore. His ability to turn any interview into a chaotic, unfiltered spectacle made him a fan favorite, even among those who had no interest in professional wrestling. Sheik's words carried an unpredictable energy, capable of making people laugh hysterically or cringe in disbelief. His persona blurred the line between reality and performance, cementing his place as one of the most infamous talkers in wrestling history. But beyond the expletives and the chaos, Sheik's shoot interviews revealed a man with deep-rooted convictions and unwavering passion for the business. His over-the-top delivery, mixed with a unique blend of broken English and firebrand rhetoric, became an art form in itself. Fans never knew what to expect when Sheik had a microphone in hand, and that unpredictability was exactly what made him so magnetic. Whether you agreed with him or not, you had to listen, because when the Sheik spoke, he demanded your attention. His interviews became must-watch content not only for wrestling enthusiasts, but for lovers of raw, unscripted comedy. In a world filled with carefully curated personas and media-trained athletes, Sheik was the rare, real deal, unafraid to say exactly what he felt. That authenticity, mixed with his sheer outrageousness, is why fans still quote him to this day. If there's one wrestler the Iron Sheik despised more than anyone, it was Hulk Hogan. Sheik's hatred for Hogan has been well documented, and it only grew more intense with time. Throughout the years, he has referred to Hogan as a Hollywood blonde jabroni, a big-nosed, no-good son of a bitch, and countless other colorful insults that made his Twitter feed an absolute goldmine for wrestling fans. Sheik blamed Hogan for ruining the wrestling business, often accusing him of being a selfish, spotlight-hogging egomaniac. His disdain for Hogan was so deep that he would take any opportunity to remind the world that he had the chance to break Hogan's leg and change wrestling history forever. One of Sheik's most hilarious shoot moments came during an interview when he was asked about the time he was offered $100,000 by Vern Gagne to break Hogan's leg in 1984 and prevent him from becoming WWE champion. Instead of taking the money, Sheik did business the professional way and lost the title clean to Hogan. But years later, he openly regretted his decision, saying, "I should have broke his leg and made him humble." This phrase, "make you humble," became his catchphrase in shoot interviews, often accompanied by a rant about how Hogan ruined wrestling. His storytelling was always passionate and intense, as if he was reliving the moment with every retelling. Despite his age, Sheik never softened his stance on Hogan, ensuring that every interview contained at least one legendary insult directed at his most despised rival. What made Sheik's rants about Hogan even more unforgettable was his delivery. Red-faced, veins bulging, often slamming his fist on the table, he would shout at the camera as if Hogan was standing right there in front of him. Sometimes he'd even act out the camel clutch on an imaginary Hogan, yelling, "I break his back." These theatrics made it clear that Sheik didn't just dislike Hogan, he loathed him with every fiber of his being. Whether or not all of it was real didn't matter. What mattered was that when the Sheik started yelling, you were glued to your seat, waiting for the next explosion of profanity and fury. And let's be honest, part of you hoped he might actually try to break something. Sheik's hatred for Brian Blair, one half of the Killer Bees tag team, is perhaps the single funniest and most over-the-top wrestling shoot rant of all time. In various interviews, Sheik went on a furious tirade against Blair, spewing out a combination of threats, insults, and bizarre storytelling that could only come from his mind. His delivery was filled with anger, passion, and just the right amount of incoherence to make it both hilarious and terrifying. Whenever the subject of Brian Blair came up, Sheik's demeanor would shift instantly and he would launch into an unprovoked verbal attack. His hatred for Blair seemed irrational to outsiders, but to Sheik, it was as real as anything he had ever felt. The most legendary quote from this shoot, "I break his back, make him humble, and fuck him in the ass." It was so absurd that it became a meme in the wrestling community, leading to endless remixes, t-shirts, and parodies. The best part? No one really knows why Sheik hated Brian Blair so much. Even Blair himself has admitted in interviews that he was never sure what sparked the rage. But whatever the reason, Sheik's vendetta against him provided some of the most unintentionally comedic moments in shoot interview history. Whether it was a deeply rooted personal grudge or just Sheik playing up his character, his rants about Blair became legendary, turning what should have been a minor rivalry into one of the funniest ongoing feuds in wrestling folklore. And the more times he told it, the more outrageous the story became. Sometimes he'd claim Blair insulted his family. Other times it was about disrespect in the locker room. And occasionally he'd just yell, "He no good! He jabroni!" It didn't really matter what the reason was, because Sheik's conviction was so intense, fans just rolled with it. These interviews are now part of internet wrestling history, and it's safe to say that if you've seen one Iron Sheik shoot on Brian Blair, you've seen a masterpiece of accidental comedy that rivals the greatest sketch shows in the world. The Iron Sheik had a few choice words about the Ultimate Warrior as well, and unlike some of his other targets, he didn't hold back even after Warrior passed away. Sheik frequently called him a no-good, dumb mother explicit, claiming that Warrior's in-ring skills were non-existent and that he was the worst worker in the business. His disdain for Warrior came from a mix of professional and personal grievances, as he saw him as an undeserving main eventer who lacked true wrestling ability. Sheik would often compare Warrior to classic wrestlers of the past, arguing that he couldn't hold a candle to the real legends of the business. One of Sheik's best rants on Warrior came when he was asked if Warrior deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. His response? "The Ultimate Warrior? He was a piece of garbage, he was no good, and he could never work. He make me sick." His complete disregard for Warrior's legacy made his rants both shocking and hilarious, as he had absolutely no filter when it came to expressing his opinions. Despite this, Sheik softened his stance a little after Warrior's passing, but not before delivering some of the funniest wrestling insults in history. Even in moments of begrudging respect, Sheik couldn't help but throw in a final jab, ensuring that his feelings about Warrior were never misunderstood. Another wrestler who found himself in Sheik's verbal crosshairs was the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. While not as frequent a target as Hogan or Blair, Sheik didn't hold back when asked about the legendary performer. He frequently referred to Michaels as a pretty boy jabroni, and accused him of disrespecting old-school wrestling with his flamboyant behavior and political maneuvering backstage. Sheik was especially irked by the infamous backstage antics of Michaels in the 1990s, often mocking the boy band look and calling him a little girl with the big ego. In interviews, Sheik would rant about how Michaels dance around like the ballerina and act like the rock star, but he no respect the legends. His old-school mentality clashed heavily with the newer generation of stars like Michaels, and his rants reflected a deep-rooted resentment for what wrestling had become. He often claimed that Michaels couldn't last 5 minutes in the ring with a real wrestler, and boasted that if he had faced him in his prime, I would stretch him good, make him humble, and teach him lesson. Though some of Sheik's comments bordered on the absurd, his disdain for Michaels added another chapter to his long list of shoot targets. Whether or not fans agreed with his assessment, there was no denying the entertainment value in hearing Sheik rip into the Heartbreak Kid with the same fire he brought to every rant. In the wild world of wrestling shoot interviews, this was just more gasoline on an already blazing fire. While Sheik was infamous for burying fellow wrestlers, one superstar he always seemed to respect was The Rock. On Twitter, Sheik would frequently praise The Rock as the real jabroni slayer, and even challenged him to a camel clutch contest. Unlike the countless wrestlers Sheik had insulted over the years, The Rock was one of the few who earned his admiration. Whether it was because of their shared connection to old-school wrestling or simply because The Rock acknowledged Sheik's legendary status, the two developed a mutual respect. In a hilarious exchange, The Rock responded by saying he learned the word jabroni from the Iron Sheik, to which Sheik tweeted back, "Of course, I invent the jabroni, you smart man." Their interactions provided a rare glimpse into Sheik's softer side, showing that beneath the wild insults and over-the-top threats, there was a genuine love for the business. This unexpected friendship led to several funny Twitter interactions, where Sheik would threaten to humble anyone who disrespected The Rock. Even in his insults, Sheik knew how to entertain. His Twitter feed became a constant source of amusement, as he mixed genuine admiration with his signature, fiery personality. What made these moments especially funny was how Sheik would go from threatening to destroy Hulk Hogan one tweet, to saying, "God bless The Rock, he respect the legend," in the next. The emotional whiplash was part of the charm. He even referred to The Rock's movies as better than the jabroni Hollywood garbage, and claimed that only two people could make a real action movie, Iron Sheik and Dwayne Johnson. Whether or not he was serious didn't really matter. It was Sheik's world, and we were just living in it. The Iron Sheik will always be remembered for his incredible wrestling career, but his legacy as the king of shoot interviews and unfiltered rants will never be forgotten. From his relentless hatred of Hulk Hogan to his infamous Brian Blair tirades, Sheik entertained fans in ways no other wrestler could. His ability to mix genuine resentment with comedic absurdity made his shoots some of the most replayed interviews in wrestling history. While some of his rants were fueled by real-life grudges, others were simply Sheik being Sheik, an unpredictable, hilarious, and totally unfiltered wrestling legend. Whether he was making people laugh, scaring them with his threats, or just reminding the world that he was the true master of the camel clutch, the Iron Sheik was always one thing: pure entertainment. His legacy is one of unscripted chaos, unforgettable insults, and an unrivaled ability to turn even the most mundane question into a full-blown spectacle. In the end, we may never see another character like him in professional wrestling. And for that, we say, Iron Sheik, you are the legend. No Jabroni, forever. He was equal parts rage and comedy, a wild force of nature who turned anger into performance art. In the landscape of pro wrestling, where kayfabe often blurs with reality, the Iron Sheik stood out by making every rant feel real, because to him, it probably was. And even when we weren't quite sure what he was saying, we felt it. And that's what made him unforgettable. No matter how many jabronis came and went, there will only ever be one Iron Sheik.